coming into the marriage, I thought it was going to be easy. And then once I put the ring on the finger, I started to see it can be easy, but we have to make it easy.
You gotta break that down.
Yeah.
Preaching. What's up, fam? Welcome back to the We Are Just Dating page. My name is Tim. This is my beautiful wife, Pauline, and you are tuning in to another episode of the W Podcast, where you get wisdom in the word with the
Wheelers.
Hey, so we are super excited. We have another great guest this week. Actually, guest with an S. We have an amazing couple, Micah and Imani, and we are just so excited. Newlywed couple, actually coming up on 1 year of marriage. We're going to get all into their story and about them and their journey and how they tried to honor God in their dating story, and then how their first year of marriage is actually going.
Yeah.
Because y'all hear stories. Sometimes first year of marriage can be a little crazy, they say, but it don't mean it is.
Yeah.
So.
And for those of you who are single, watching, one of the topics of interest that we get from you all is, what is it really like to be married? What's really the first year of marriage like? So we have a newlywed couple here to share their experience with us. We're obviously not that far removed, but sometimes y'all don't believe us. So wanted to bring on another couple to share their perspective.
Yeah. So without further ado, let me bring them on right now. What's up, fam? How y'all doing?
We're good. How are you guys?
We're doing well. Thank y'all for joining us. I think this is going to be a really good episode.
Oh yeah.
All right. So I'm going to just jump right in, because the people probably wondering, who is these people? Like, I know they're good looking, but like, who is that? Who are they? So can y'all tell us a little bit about yourselves, and specifically, how did you meet? How long did you date? And then we'll kind of go from there.
Got you. Well, I'm Micah. I think I'm a fun guy, as Kawhi said.
Kind of like Kawhi Leonard.
But we met in high school. I actually chose my high school because I wanted to play football. That didn't happen. I ended up playing basketball freshman year and baseball the rest of my time. But before all of that, I decided to go to McNamara because I actually wanted to meet my wife there. I did. I met her at women's.
This is high school.
This was high school. Yes.
High school. You want to meet a wife?
Yes.
Yeah, long view in mind.
I did. And then junior year came up, and I saw women's studies on the course offerings, and I said, I'm in there.
Wow.
So, this man was intentional.
That's something that people do in college. You're very far ahead.
Right. Yeah. So I was doing it because I said I'm gonna either meet my wife or learn how to talk to my wife in that class, and that really helped me a lot. She was in the class, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, you guys. I'm Imani, and yes, that is how we met initially. People assumed that we were high school sweethearts. I wish we were. I wish we connected sooner so we could be like, oh, it's our 10-year anniversary. But no, we started dating in
2019 December.
Yep, we reconnected on Instagram. I saw his page. I was like, okay, it's a fine man. Who is this? Started liking all his pictures. He didn't notice it. He thought I was just like seeing his page for the first time.
That was, I think, in July. That was early.
Yeah, that was in July.
That was early.
And then he wasn't really responding. And I saw maybe like a couple weeks later, he posted this little shorty. I was like, oh, okay. So he has a whole, girlfriend. So I just left it alone. A few months later, maybe like November.
Yeah, end of November.
He starts responding to my stories. And now I'm not responding because I'm like, where's the little girl at? Go to his page.
I'm not getting in any trouble.
Right? I go to his page, and then no more pictures of her. I'm like, okay. So he starts, asking me different questions. Oh, yeah, do you want to go to Zoo Lights? Or no, he put a poll up saying, should I go to Zoo Lights or
Watkins Park for the drive-through zoo.
Mm-hmm. And I responded.
She responded, said Zoo Lights is free.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
so when she responded, you said, hey, you want to go with me?
Yes.
Okay.
I said, does that mean you want to go with me? And she
was
said,
that intentional? Did you put it up just so you respond?
Just for her.
You put out some bait. I like that.
Absolutely.
This is gonna be fun. It's gonna be a good episode. So I'm getting off track a little bit here, but what you did, a lot of people don't realize how they can utilize social media to help them find their person.
Yep.
Because just doing what you did, putting up a little bait, as Pauline said, and giving people an opportunity to respond. Because Imani could have not responded, and then it would have been what it was. Right. But she did, and people miss out on opportunities because they're not putting out the bait.
Yeah. But even to Imani's point of you responding, right? Because we were actually started this conversation about, you know, women putting out an assist for a guy without putting yourself out there, without you being like, hey, Micah, I think you're really cute. Like, would you go on a date with me? It's like, how do girls like shoot their shot but not be so obvious with it? Because you showed him that you were interested, and it was kind of this kind of back and forth banter, but you still were protecting yourself and being feminine, being a woman. You're not going out there and, you know, doing too much, but you still let him know, like, yo, I'm here. Like, look at me.
That's the key. That's gonna help a lot of people out, because if women just say, hey, I am available, or they give that consent to say, yes, you can talk to me, it makes it so much easier for the guy to be like, all right, cool, we going all in, I'm being intentional, this is what I'm about, are you with it or not?
I love that, because so many girls do struggle with like, well, how do I make myself seen but not, I guess, break the rules of, you know, being pursued and kind of remaining in that feminine role. So I love that. And obviously y'all were vibing. I mean, but you have to be able to pick up the vibes too. Like, Micah, did you remember that she had looked at your pictures like a few months back and you were like, okay, like she knows that I'm alive. Let me try to like.
I did. So I did, but I didn't think about it the way that she was doing it. I thought it was just, okay, cool. She finally realized that I've been following her and we went to the same high school, and she just liked my pictures just cause. And then months later, then she was like, yeah, I liked your pictures because you was cute. I was like,
yeah. Yeah, but it's cool because it's still kind of a God factor as well. I mean, the fact that y'all knew each other, you had the background. This wasn't a rando or Randy, as some people say. You know, this is somebody you have some context with. And the fact that, Micah, you shared that you know, your heart was to meet your wife. I mean, you obviously didn't know back then. It immediately turned into that.
Was there any interest back then? Like, obviously nothing happened, but like in high school, were y'all like, oh, this person's good looking?
No, I thought she was cute back then, but she was mean. She was one of the mean girls.
I was a mean girl. We had two different circles. So he played baseball and I ran track and I did dance. So there was no even like cross besides that class.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. So there was no like familiarity or like, okay.
And just Chick-fil-A. She always used to work in the Chick-fil-A drive-through window, and I would go to Chick-fil-A.
That's a great job in high school, man. I want Joshua to work there.
No, see, that's how you get fat. That's how you get fat. No, my son got my genes. He gets fat. So let's go back to your dating story. I think you said July or August 2019.
They started dating in December.
Well, that's when y'all started talking.
We started talking in November,
mm-hmm.
and that's when she made herself noticeable in July.
Mm-hmm.
And we started talking in November, started dating in December.
Yeah.
Got you. So how long did y'all actually date before engagement?
1 year and 1 month.
Yep.
Okay.
So we were engaged in January 2021.
And then y'all got married August 2021.
Yep.
Cool.
And if it was up to Micah, we would have got married sooner. It would have definitely been like May or April. And I was like, look, I'm still in school, so we're going to have to do
Right.
That's fine. I do
Tim wanted to get married 3 months earlier than we actually did. And I'm like, let's just.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he wanted to get married in March. And I was like, it's okay.
What, man? You know, it'd be hard out here.
I was talking about September, and then you were like, no.
Oh, yeah. She was trying to push it back 3-4 months. It was like, no way.
I was too.
Nah, we can't have that.
No,
this guy Micah said, I waited long enough.
Yeah, man.
No.
So we would love to know, and this can be a little fun answer, but we want each of you separately to describe your newlywed experience so far, just using 3 words.
You want to go first?
You got it. I still got to think.
Okay. 3 words. I would say sanctifying, fun, and adjustable.
Now, I love those words. And for our people who don't speak Christianese, what now there's some people that just don't know. what does sanctifying mean to you?
So being married and just being sanctified, and you have to die to yourself. So for those who, don't know, like the Christianese, like you said, basically I have to submit to him. I'm getting to know him. He's getting to know me. There are things about me that have to change. There are things that I need to bend towards him, and other things that he's like, oh, okay, I can see it from that perspective. But we both have to lay down our lives daily. It's not me. It's not him. It's the marriage. What's the best choice for the marriage?
Yeah. So good.
Sanctifying.
Yeah, it's like teamwork. It's not, you gotta do what's best for the team, not about what you want to do. So good.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna step outside the box a little bit. Everybody always says like the same words. For me, I'm gonna say real. I'm gonna say this one. I'm gonna have to explain. I'm gonna say dangerous. And the third one. I'm gonna explain that. I'm gonna explain that one. The third one is it's just it's enjoyable. Like it's so I'll start with the dangerous part first. So coming from kind of my background and bringing somebody else's background into the mix is it's a little difficult. And then especially with me, I like to save my money and kind of make a big purchase. And then when two incomes come together, it's like I don't need to save no more. That's the dangerous part. But then it gets, then I think I'm like, okay, this is not my money. It's our money. Mm-hmm. This spot that we're living in, it's got to be paid for by us. So it starts off with a mindset where you're like, all right, we got a little more, we could do a little more, versus we have a little more, let's save to have even more later. Mm. So that dangerous part is that mindset shift. And the enjoyable part and the real part is kind of coincides, because we have to be real with one another, but we also have to find ways in those moments to still enjoy it when it's a tough conversation.
Yeah, that's
like,
good. We were talking about the real piece. I feel like that's kind of reminds me of honesty. Like you have to be honest with your spouse and like tell them things that like you maybe don't want to, and like even the transition. When I think, even I still consider us newlyweds, which sometimes I do. When I think about, we just celebrated our 4-year anniversary. We were joking like, "Oh, our marriage is like a preschooler. Like our marriage is the maturity of a person. It's just a preschooler. Like still wet in the bed. You still got only a handful of words. Like very, very immature. Can't do much by yourself." And yeah, when you think about like, just like that transition into marriage, it's like, well, I'm used to just making certain decisions on my own, or I'm used to not having to, run things by you. And it's like, oh, I didn't know you cared about this, or you cared about that, or like literally learning how every decision you make, that's like what time you wake up in the morning, and obviously down to like buying certain purchases, like that affects your spouse. Like that's a huge adjustment of like, oh snap, like even for people who are listening, if you're still single and you get married maybe when you're in your 30s, upper 30s, even 40s, it's even more of an adjustment because you had all that time to be by yourself, and you're in that habit of like of just kind of doing you. So being real and being honest with your spouse is a huge adjustment.
That's really good. So what were y'all expectations of marriage before you got married? Because I feel like we always have this fantasy of what, it don't even have to be about marriage. Like anytime we want to go after something, we have a fantasy of what it would be like, but we're missing the hardest parts about it. Yeah. So for y'all, what were y'all expectations of, whether it was being a husband, being a wife, and what were those expectations? And then how has it been different, or has it been the same?
You want me to go first on this, or you got it?
You can go first.
All right. So my expectations was I'm not gonna say a lot different than what it is now, but coming into the marriage, I thought it was gonna be easy, and then once I put the ring on the finger, I started to see it can be easy, but we have to make it easy.
You gotta break that down.
Freezing. So once we got engaged, the communication really showed itself. Because at first, when you're dating, you're not trying to, you're still kind of walking on eggshells. But once that ring gets on, it's like, okay, now I actually have to talk to you in different ways about finances, food, where we're gonna live, how we're gonna live, wedding planning. Like, it really shows it. The communication shows itself. So then once we got married, and I would say over the last 9 months, 10 months, everything has improved. Like, the communication's improved, our fun, like, we know each other. Like, it's still in its early stages, and it's still not that like picture perfect marriage that they show on TV, or the super, super volatile marriage. Like, the TV only shows one of those two.
Yeah.
So we have to,
nobody has an average marriage.
right. So we had to like kind of make it ourselves. And that's something that we talked about, but we didn't necessarily experience until we were in it.
Yeah.
So it's like, instead of being, I was saying this earlier to Imani, instead of being in that cookie cutter, we have to make our own cookie cutter and take that template and apply it to different things in our lives.
That's good.
Yeah, that is really good. I would say, so mine's was probably, I wouldn't say not realistic. I didn't necessarily have expectations. So I'm single. I am in law school. I meet this guy who I reconnect with. And, you know, you're praying for your husband one day, but you don't like necessarily expect him to pop up like right now. You're like, oh, okay. Well, here you are. Praise God. But for me, it was just more so like, how am I going to, you know, still work full time, still go to school, and now be married? It was more so like, I think I was thinking about it in terms of a balance. And what I have learned from that, like expectations versus reality, like, this is my balance. Like, he is my priority. So work, school, that's secondary, probably not even secondary, but this is my priority. And even over these last 10 months, it's like, okay, this is our marriage. Like, you're my priority, and this is my chief concern. Everything else, you know, I have responsibilities, but this is my number one concern. And I think going into the marriage, people tell you that, but you don't actually see it until you live out those day-to-day decisions. Like, oh, you didn't make your lunch yet. Okay. No, you gotta be up at 4 a.m. We up at 4 a.m. Like, okay, well, you know, he has an obligation. Like last night, you had a baseball game. You know, gotta support my babe. Okay, gotta knock out this study day so I can show up for him. So just those things, and, you know, being present. I think that's something that I didn't expect that is our reality.
That's really good. How long did it take you, and maybe you're still trying to fully get there, but how long did it take you to, okay, yes, he's my priority, and like my actions are following suit? Because I can see that being something that's hard for a lot of people.
Let me see. So I come from a background of majority women in my family, very career oriented and very much, you know, nurturing and motherly, but not necessarily in terms of honing in on homemaking. So I would say, how many months into our marriage was it a shift?
Probably when I got back from training in the honeymoon. I would say probably like 3 to 4 months in.
Yeah.
Because we got married, a month I spent here, 2 months I was in training. So then that kind of like negated itself. And in November, December, we got back from the honeymoon early December, and that's when it really started to get rolling.
Yeah. And that's when I was actually, so when we got married and then he went to training, I was still technically like living on my own. So I didn't necessarily have to take care of his needs and things like that. So I wasn't learning it from that perspective, more so emotional support and things like that, like because he was away. But then when he got back, like, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay. Got it. I got the message quick.
That's so good. I love that you said the word priorities. That's what stood out to me, because I think a lot of times you mentioned your background being coming from a family of career-driven women. Even you yourself are a career-driven woman in a way. You know, like graduating law school, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be practicing soon. And that's so big in our culture, right? Of like women, that's the kind of the constant struggle. And like the women that I've gotten to speak to about, you know, fears about getting married and kind of how does this work and how do I kind of fit this in? And a lot of women honestly feel like family, marriage, children hold them back from their career and feel like, well, I'm just going to push that off and wait because I have this, you know, these career ambitions or what have you. And I think that it's so big that you pretty much just described to me was like when I got married, or basically when Micah got back from training, it was like a restart. It was like, okay, clean slate. Like, yes, I have, you know, my law degree, and yes, I have these ambitions, but like, I am not going to try to do this balance. Because let's be honest, the balance is a lie. There is no balance. So there is no balance. Like, what do you, like, if your husband is sick, what do you say? Hey, babe, I know you're sick, but I have this huge case, and like, you didn't really confirm with me if I was available to take care of you. So like, now I need you to do the beginning of that. And it's like, well, how, like, people really try to wrap their heads around that. And it's like, how do you balance this? And it's like, you don't. Like, some seasons family and home is really heavy, and then other seasons work and career is really heavy. And it's like, at the end of the day, Micah only has one life. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course you have your responsibilities of work and school, but it's like, if I were to drop y'all, you would find somebody else to take my spot. But like, Micah, there is no other, you know, wife. So it's like, that's my priority. And just, I feel like that mindset shift is just so huge, and hopefully will help a lot of people if they have that anxiety about like, well, I don't know how to balance both. Like, my parents didn't do a good job of it. And it's like, well, it's because we're trying to juggle things that aren't meant to be juggled. So I love that you shared that. Thank you.
Yeah. So we met you all because you did our Just Dating course.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, besides that, what else, or did you all do anything else while you were dating to help you prepare? And honestly, you can talk about that if you want to, but what did y'all do when you were dating to help you prepare for marriage? Because I feel like a lot of people oftentimes think, okay, when I get engaged, that's when I start preparing. Like, I don't feel like that was
I'll go first on something like really that we haven't talked about, something that's kind of small that I just thought about just now. We actually hung out with maybe, I think, 2 married couples on a regular basis.
Awesome.
On a consistent basis. And that showed me like, okay, this is something that I want, and I'm seeing great examples. I'm seeing happy examples of where I want to be in a year, 2 years, 5 years, things like that. And it just, that kind of prepared me, and also just being able to listen more to her and listen to how she responds to me. I think that prepared me to be able to deconflict, like kind of handle better conflict better. Okay. So it was those 2 things for me that kind of started getting my mentality right. So
that's good.
I think that's good. So I would say, in addition to that, what we did was, first, we were abstinent. So our dating relationship and also our engagement, we were intentional about not being intimate. And that really helped us, even with just basic things, being married. He's gone for 2 months away. As soon as we get married, look, I don't got to worry about nothing. He don't got to worry about nothing. Look, we done waited 18 months. And even what I tell single people going to the Just Dating group, you don't really have anything to lose when you're not intimate with someone. So when you find out, hey, maybe I'm dating this person and it's not a good fit, or this isn't the person I'm going to marry, if you aren't intimate with them, you can easily walk away. Yeah. Well, I shouldn't say easily. Well, you can walk away. Easier. Maybe. Yeah. Also, what did we do? We made the decision to start praying together every day when we were dating. And that brought, I think, unity between us, and also just a level of like trust and
vulnerability. Because if she's praying for like 5 minutes and I'm sending up these minute prayers, I'm just like,
I gotta get my weight up.
I'm sitting there keeping it short and brief, and she's just like reading a book. I'm like, all right, let me start with a chapter a day. Here we go. So
what else? Oh, we did 2 different premarital courses. So we did do Just Dating, but when we got engaged, that's when we're like, okay, we need some skills. We need some things in our toolbox. I would recommend going to a therapist. That is very beneficial. not necessarily because there's an issue, but just to gain communication skills and conflict resolution skills.
It's preventative.
Yeah.
Because I think as newlyweds and just engaged couples, you have to be able to communicate. And then when there is a conflict, because conflicts will arise, you have to be able to resolve it in a peaceful way.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's good. Now, knowing what you know now, being almost a year married, is there anything you would have done differently, whether it be when you were dating or engaged? Is there anything you would have probably done differently?
I would say for me, save money. I knew about Groupon, but I didn't use it. So them dates was getting a little out of hand, especially because I wasn't working like I didn't make as much as I did once we got engaged. So before then, I was like legit spoiling her with most of my paycheck and not really thinking, okay, long term we're gonna buy a house. I was like, that's gonna be easy. And then I was like, oh, this wedding's expensive.
Right.
All this stuff is expensive. So I would have just, in my mind, saved up a little bit more and used Groupon. Groupon saves lives and pockets.
It's real. I would say, and we've talked about this, excuse me, I would say not involving others. And I think we even talked to you guys a couple of times about this too, even in the Just Dating group. So when I say not involving others, I'm not talking about not having community. I'm talking about maybe in-laws, family members, toxic friends who you don't know are toxic until you get into this, union, and then they start showing their true colors or maybe their feelings towards different things. I would say because we asked for a lot of people's input during the wedding planning season, it's kind of like that shift. We decided to get married. Our families didn't.
Yeah.
We decided to get married. Our friends didn't. So our minds are changing. We're shifting. We're becoming one. And it's like that weird space where you're not married yet. You're engaged. So people kind of don't know those boundaries. But then if you don't ever establish them or communicate them and reinforce them,
Right.
then you go into marriage and they're still like, hey, I want to open this door. And you're like, no.
Nah, there's a screen door for a reason.
Yeah. So I would say definitely being more mindful of those boundaries with other people.
Yeah. I mean, engagement, I really believe it's like the most awkward time. And it's short for a reason. I mean, we talk about this with people when it comes to dating and why it's helpful for you to date as long as you need to, but not longer than you have to, because people are like, well, how are we supposed to be, not physically intimate for this whole time where we're dating? We're like, well, the idea is not that you date for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Like, no one's really, like abstinent in a relationship for that long. Same thing goes for engagement. When you are engaged for a significant amount of time and you're like, okay, I feel really close to you. We're going to counseling. We're doing these things. I'm learning. We're getting closer, but also like, I gotta drop you off at the end of the night. Like, this is just getting weird. And like, half my stuff is at our new place. Half my stuff is at my old. It's just getting so strange. Like, it's like, this guy just focus on that date and like get through it. Basically, just drop your shoulder and go for it. But I would love to go back and share, if you all wouldn't mind sharing a little bit of like practical tips of how you did remain abstinent, because we're actually finding that a lot of people know that they're supposed to, and a lot of people want to be abstinent. So first of all, claps to you guys for accomplishing that goal.
It's all God. Look.
Share with us like what type of boundaries did y'all have to accomplish that?
Got you. So Mama, you go first.
So I would say, and this is kind of like for everybody starting at the beginning, because some people could be engaged now, could be dating, or they're single. I would say start when you're single and you make that decision. That's the first boundary with yourself, because you can't necessarily, well, you can, but it's a little harder to come into the relationship and you haven't had your mind made up. And then the other person does or doesn't. You can get those convictions later on. But initially, if you don't have those convictions, then only Holy Spirit can convict you of them. So the first boundary I would say is personally you making that decision.
Right. That's so good. Because so many people are like, well, we'll see. Like when the person I'm with, like I've heard guys, Lord Jesus, who are like, a girl has asked the guy, she met him online, oh, like, are you having sex before or after marriage? And he's like, oh, well, it's up to the girl. No, homie, it needs to be up to you. What are you doing with your body? Don't let it be, because then that's when you end up in, like, this needs to be your own personal belief. So I love that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Lonnie.
Yeah, I think we talked about that on before the first date, but we got really in depth on the second date with that. But my mindset was, I don't plan to date you that long anyway, and I know forever is longer than this year.
Hey, now.
So why waste a year when I can have 99 years after that?
Come on, that's so good.
I can plan this for a long time.
Listen. But I would say, like, some practical things is be mindful of the activities you do together.
Play games, like Connect Four. We played Uno all the time.
Okay.
She was my enemy.
Yes. I would say definitely I think we kind of had an advantage because we both lived with our parents. So we had that certain level of accountability. If people don't live with it, or, with their parents or a roommate, I would say maybe not necessarily,
go back to the house.
You know yourself, you're attracted to this person, you got to be real. And also, I would say if you do get to that point, because we are human, or you are in a situation, somebody has to be a fail-safe, be like, hey, I'm leaving. Like, I'm going to see you the next day, I'm going to see you next week. But those are just some practical things. Also, tell other people.
Yeah.
Because they're going to hold you accountable too. They may not, outright be like, yeah, so y'all still abstinent? But they'll be like, yeah, actually, we did have some people to ask us that.
Yeah, we did.
People are so interesting. They be like, so y'all engaged now. Y'all
living together?
And we're like, okay, well, we are still abstinent. Good. Thank you. Good. But that kept us accountable too, because you told, your friends, your family, whoever, we're walking this journey out. They going to hold you accountable in the most awkward way.
That makes it real.
Yeah. What else, babe?
One thing that just came to my mind also is group dates. So especially when it gives you a chance to, like, if you have a couple friends or are getting to know people that are couples, or people that's single that you think they can match up with somebody else that is single, go out with them. Don't just go out by yourselves all the time and just stay isolated. Stay in community and grow, and just do a bunch of activities, like active things. We did a rope course. We went hiking all the time. If you're not married, don't nobody gonna want to go to somebody's house after they've been sweating for 3 hours. So do active stuff. Just do some active stuff and build on that communication outside of just sitting on the couch or sitting in the car. Get active, get moving.
That's good.
Obviously you guys almost been married for a year, which is awesome. What would you tell somebody that's been dating for a while, that has been engaged, but there's no real date set? What would you tell somebody that's anxious about getting married to encourage them that, hey, you need to come on to this side?
Dang, that's a good one. You want to go first?
No.
Okay, I'll go first. So this is for the people that's not engaged too. She would threaten me all the time. If you don't hurry up and propose, I'm gonna do it in front of everybody at the mall. And I was like, nah, we're not doing that.
I'm not going out like that.
Yeah, so that's one thing. And then the other thing that we had a discussion, we actually asked each other this, I think maybe 2 or 3 months into the marriage, was like, how long do you think is too long to date somebody before you end it if they don't propose or things like that? And we both came up with the year range of like 2 to 4 years, because at that point,
I didn't say that.
No, I said 4.
She
said 2.
I could never say that.
She said 2. I say 4, because I know 4 years for me. Every 4 years, something big happens in my life. So she said 2. I say 4 at the max, because at that point, guys know within the first 6 months to a year. Women know probably instantly, but it's just at that point, it's like just either you're in or you're out. Don't keep pulling the string, throwing the fishing line. Like, just if it's 6+ years and you still like feel like you're not ready, but you want to marry the person, just marry the person. Just get it done. But if you're still questioning it, that may be a sign to kind of slowly pull back. So
that's kind of like where I am with it. So now that I am married, and now that I do see the beauty in marriage and how it brings us together, and it also, our marriage brings other people together, and it gives people hope. So I see how beautiful it can be, but also I see how ugly it can be as well. And when you look at other people's situations, you can see, wow, you know, if the people, how do I say this? Sometimes people, they think they want something, like you guys asked earlier, like, what were your expectations of marriage? A lot of people don't know what marriage really is. So I would say, if you find yourself in a scenario, like you said, you're dating someone, there's no date set, or you don't have a ring yet, or you're engaged and there's no date set, then I would say, if this is the person for you, then, you know, in the meantime, just get those tools, those communication, those conflict resolution, and just solidify that this is your person and move forward by faith. God is going to provide. It's going to work out no matter what. But if you are on the end of the spectrum where you are not dating anybody, or you are dating someone and they've been dating you for a long time, and you've been talking about this thing called marriage, and they have not been talking about this thing called marriage, I would say you should move on. Because go ahead.
I was going to ask about to add to that too. If you're dating somebody for that long and you don't hang out with married people, are you really leaning towards marriage, or are you leaning towards just dating? So you got to find that married couple group and actually learn from them before you make that decision.
Yeah.
How did you all find the couples that you hung out with? Like, what type, did it take a lot of courage? Because I think a lot of single people and or dating couples that we've talked to, they're like, oh, well, they're kind of waiting for a married couple to approach them and say, like, hey, you should come out with us, or like, let's kind of take you under the wing. And it doesn't always work like that. So talk to us about how you all got to find that rhythm with couples.
I would say initially it was people that we knew that were married, and it was like 2 couples. But I would say also, like, now, and you guys know this, being married, you can't just like, you can't find married friends just for you, Pauline, or just for you, Tim. It has to match both of y'all.
Right.
Like,
it makes it harder.
Yes, you don't want to be going out and, you know, y'all get along, the guys, but the women is just like radio silent. It's just
better,
like,
honestly, if the girls get along. The boys eventually find their way to talk about basketball or something.
Yes. So what we have found is, for us, we host a lot of events. We will go different places, and we'll invite people, and people invite us, and that's how we build community. For us, we also say, hey, you know, if you're a married person and, you know, you have other people you want to invite, bring them. You know, bring them, because we don't want to just leave our community with the people we know. Other people can benefit from being in, you know, community with healthy married people, ultimately. So I would say, even as a single, you know, everybody has maybe 1 or 2 older married couples that say, hey, you know, they've been married, grandma and grandpa, and forever, or mom and dad. That's great. That's beautiful. But we in 2022. Y'all need to see some millennial marriage, and not just on Instagram. Y'all need to see it in person, because everything is not what it seems. It's beautiful. It's fun. But at the same time, you know, you need to see that. For instance, one of our friends, they're dating. Now they're engaged. And they would hang out with us, and we would hang out with them. And because, you know, we had that level of trust with them, we would talk about different things like, hey, you know, we just had a budget meeting, or, hey, you know, we're thinking about getting a puppy, and, you know, it's a hard decision. Those different things, so they can like see the in and out of actually like day to day, instead of just our Instagram posts.
Yeah, like, they hanging out together, they're going out. That's what married people do, but they actually have an inside kind of look. Not too inside, but like an inside look is what we go through on a daily basis. But the couple friends we met were mostly her friends. We went to a wedding, 2 months into dating? I think it was like, it was like 2 months into dating. And I was like, yeah, they're going to be around for a while. This is fun. So then, and the crazy part about it, me and the guy's birthday actually match, where we had the same birthday. So that's one way we connected. And then her and the lady they were friends, I think, since college. So it was just a spiral effect. Yeah. And it was just like, this is going to be fun. I'm ready.
Yeah, so that's awesome. I mean, y'all share so many good things on here that I think people are really going to get a lot of value from. Any last thoughts or takeaways you would want to give to people who are watching?
I'll go first. Marriage and dating in general is a challenge, yes, but it depends on what type of challenge that you make it. If you're able to be open, flexible, and learn, and also not listen to respond, but listen to understand and create better habits for yourselves and for your partner, it just makes it go smoother. You become best friends. You get to like actually enjoy being with the person, even on tough days, even when they're having a bad day. This is kind of a little bit vulnerable. Imani was pretty sick one night, and I was like, all right, it's 1 a.m. What am I going to do? Took care of her, got her Pedialyte, all of these different things that you don't necessarily think about when you say in sickness and in health.
Yeah.
But it got to a point where it was just like, dang, I got to be up in 4 hours. Let me go ahead and call out of work. I'll take care of her. And it was just one of those moments where it hits you and you like, this is genuinely my best friend. Like I'm literally here taking care of her, and I'm putting myself at risk of getting sick and all of that, but I didn't care. So you just have to be open to different challenges that may present itself. It may not even be within the two couples, maybe outside things. Just be able to take that challenge head on and grow and just be closer together after it.
Absolutely. That's really good. I would say if you want to get married, then do it. Because once you find your person, like this is the person that you have a peace with being with, this is the person that also wants to be with you and they want to get married to you, I would say do it because it is so beautiful and it's so fun. Everybody doesn't have like a toxic relationship. Everyone doesn't have a catastrophic marriage. There are genuinely people out here that are enjoying marriage. Is it hard? Yes, because us as individuals, we go through things. So now we're one flesh and we're dealing with it together. That's the difference. You have a partner in life. He has a helpmate and I have a leader. So we both have things that we didn't have before and we balance each other out. We teach each other, we learn from each other. We have fun with each other. And ultimately we fulfill our purpose in the earth together. So I would say do it. And if you don't know if you want to get married, don't do it. If you someone, maybe your family wants you to get married, maybe the person you're with wants you to get married, but if you're not ready, then don't do it because it's a commitment for life. And it can be so beautiful when you want to do it and you're ready to do it, but it can be really devastating if you aren't there yet.
And can I say one thing off of that?
Yeah, go ahead.
As far as being ready, I wasn't ready completely. Nobody will ever be ready completely because if you're ready completely and it's two people that's ready completely, there's no room for like mixture.
That's true.
So it's okay to not be 100% ready because the other person, if they're 100% ready, you have to fit into their readiness. If you both come into it with open minds, open hearts to come ready together, that's different than two people coming together that's already ready.
That's true.
So
I love that because I know one thing that I took away from our dating engagement experience, because you guys remember when you were engaged, everyone asked you every 5 seconds, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? And you're like, I'm here. I'm planning this wedding. Like, leave me alone. Like, I don't know if I'm ready. But I'm willing. And I think that's the type of heart that the Lord wants. Because, like, are you ever ready for anything? People ask us, are we ready to have a child? I don't know, but he's coming. So,
I'll be ready when you
get ready.
He was coming. We're not pregnant. I just want you said he's coming like somebody coming. I just want to make sure.
Well, Josh, he's definitely here.
Mama, don't call me.
It was more about when we were pregnant, is what I'm saying. But I love what you said, Imani, about like if you know you have that desire to get married, like do it. Because I remember actually during our group, you had said something similar when we had our outing, because you were sharing how a bunch of people in law school who like got married while they were in school, and because so many people are like kind of have this capstone view of marriage of like, oh well, I'll get married when I make $150,000 and I'm out of debt and I have a house and I have all these things, and it's like, So then where does your spouse fit in? Like, where is their story? And that kind of speaks to what you said, Micah, about like the mixture of the two. And even to what we spoke about earlier about kind of the earlier you get married, sometimes there's an advantage. And I don't say this to shame anybody who is older than what they feel like they want to be. Then when they get married, whenever the Lord, allows you and opens the door for you to get married, don't rush it. But also, you don't want to push it off, because that's less of your life that you're doing with your partner. And Imani, in the beginning of this recording, you had said, I wish we got married, or I wish we met when we were earlier, because we'd have more time together. And that is so true. Like, you're building your life together. You don't want to look up and then you feel like your spouse is like a hindrance, or like, you're in the way of my plans. And it's like, no, we did this together. Like, we built this together. You remember when I was broke. You remember when I was in law school. You remember when, I was working a part-time job. That's what we always say, for each other. So I love that you shared that, because so many people feel like their situation is in the way. Like, they have the person, they're in love with the person, but they feel like, oh, well, we can't get married because X, Y, and Z issues are also present. And it's like, well, you're always going to have issues, number one. And number two, like, this person is someone who's going to come alongside you, and no, they're not going to solve your problems, but they're going to be with you in them. And that's something to celebrate. I feel like that's what the heart of marriage is. It's like never letting the other person feel alone. Just the same way that the Lord has promised us, like, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. Like, you will face problems, but God is with you in the problems. And that's the beauty of being a child of God. So thank y'all for sharing that.
Yeah, honestly, we could have went forever. We could have gone forever. Like, there's so many things that were said that could have been piggybacked off. Thank y'all so much for your time. I really think you will get a lot of value from this. This has been another episode of the W Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, can you let us know in the comments what you took from this? We would love to know. I'm sure Mike and Imani would love to hear as well. So we'll see y'all next week on the W Podcast.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this video.
To get more Christian relationship advice, subscribe to our channel.
And make sure you check out our other videos as well.